Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to episode 2 of Chess Mistakes of an A Player. I looked at another 10 games and selected some interesting mistakes to take a look at. But first I wanted to talk a little bit about how I'm classifying these mistakes and what I'm thinking about the decision-making process in chess. And by this decision-making process, I mean how you decide what move to make. I've come up with this process that I'm trying to follow, and I have to admit this isn't original. I heard all of these ideas from other people. I've had discussions with other chess players. I haven't read too much about this. I think the only book I really know of that talks about this is Kotov's Think Like a Grandmaster, and I've never read that book. Now, it's I have to admit, I guess, that I have difficulty following any kind of process. So I was in a discussion once with some other chess players, and they came up with this great plan, this great process that involved like 10 or 12 steps every move, and I couldn't do it. I can't. So this is my attempt to come up with the ultimate streamed-down decision-making process, which still keeps all of the essential elements in place. And it's basically 4 steps. So the first step is to do a tactical survey of the position. What are the threats on the board? What are your threats? What are your opponent's threats? And, pay attention to your opponent's last move. Did he make some threats? Did he create some weaknesses? So this is just a brief stage trying to give you an idea of what's going on tactically. Second step is to identify the candidate moves. If you have a plan already in mind, what are the moves that forward the plan. There should also be some moves suggested by the tactical survey, moves that take advantage of the tactics on the board or defend against some of the tactics that are out there that your opponent has. Other things you might look at trying to identify candidate moves are, what's your opponent's plan? Can you find little moves that will throw sand in his gears? Do you even have to worry about his plan? Is his plan really dangerous, or can you let him just proceed? And absent that, you might just think of things that improve your position a little bit, gain some space, activate your pieces. One idea is, find the worst piece on the board that you have and try and improve it, or things you can do to improve your safety of your king or eliminate loose pieces. Anyway, after you have your candidate moves, step 3 is to choose the best move. And then step 4, which is very important and often forgotten, is to perform a blunder check. So before you make that move, visualize that move in your head and see if there's some kind of immediate tactical hole in it. And surprisingly, this will save you from mistakes quite a bit. I think because when you're thinking about moves and best moves, you're so often thinking about positional factors, and you sometimes overlook the tactical threats. So anyway, I just wanted to put up this process, and then as I go through and look at these mistakes, I want to find out, where am I making my mistakes? Am I forgetting to do the tactical survey? Am I forgetting to do the blunder check? Am I not coming up with good candidate moves? I'm trying to identify the flaws in my thinking process so I can try and improve them. So that's a little bit of background. Let's take a look at the first tactic. Let's see. I have the white pieces. My opponent has the black pieces. And he played the move queen to e4. And so I think this is a mistake I make on the next move that's due to not, you could look at it as either failing to perform the blunder check or failing to perform the tactical survey. So I think, if I had done a tactical survey at this point, what threats does my opponent have in this position? What's a cute tactic that black has? Okay, pause the video there and see if you can find some tactic that black has in this position and think of a way that you might defend against it. Okay, I'm going to explain what I played, and then we'll see the flaw in it. I just played the move queen d2. I didn't see any particular tactics. I'm not sure what idea I was worried about, or I'm not sure what my plan was here. The queen does defend this a-pawn, so I don't have to worry about this check here, picking up the pawn, so that was one virtue of it. But it didn't meet my opponent's main threat. And what my opponent played, he started with the move pawn takes pawn. I take back. And then he just takes this pawn with the queen. And now the tactic is evident. If I take his queen, I didn't play this, but if I take his queen, he has this check, and he gets the queen back, and he's just won a pawn. So basically, my opponent has a threat to win a pawn in this position. Now notice that the order is important. He can't take this pawn right away because I take, he gives the check, move my king, takes the queen, then I can win the pawn back. So I have a threat in this position too of winning a pawn, and we just get an even position. And the position is even, basically. This is a completely even position. So after queen d2, he first takes, and then he takes the pawn. So that's an example of, I would say, yeah, right here it's my turn to move, and I didn't notice what my opponent threatened when he made this move. So if I had done the tactical survey there, I think I would have avoided that mistake. Okay, let's take a look at the next game. Let's see, I had the black pieces here. Let's turn this around. And let's go forward to the move. 17, okay. Let's back up. Yeah, so my opponent just played the move bishop to a4, attacking my queen. And it's my turn to move here. And I saw an interesting tactic in this position, and I just miscalculated. So this is an example where I think I followed the right process, but as I was evaluating the move, I just didn't calculate the sequence correctly. So the simplest thing to do here is just to retreat the queen to c8. Everything's safe. There's not a whole lot going on. I think this is another position which is about even. But I saw what I thought was a clever way to win the pawn. So notice that my bishop and my queen are lined up on his g2 pawn, and his queen is defending that, and his queen is defending his bishop. So his queen is overloaded. And so the tactical idea I had was queen takes g2, check. Queen takes g2. And then I take the queen back with my bishop. He takes my bishop with his king. And then I take his bishop here. His bishop is loose and it's under attack by my knight after that sequence. So let me erase all of those arrows. That was my thinking process. That was the line that I calculated. And so I played the move queen takes g2 check here. And that move is a mistake. And I think a simple blunder check would not have found this problem. But this is a kind of miscalculation that I often make a mistake with. So can you figure out, if you want, this is your second quiz here, can you figure out what my mistake was in that calculation and how white can refute that idea of queen takes g2 check? Okay, well, I played this move. Queen takes, he took, and then I took his queen. So now the let's take a look. The material is all even, right? He has 3 pieces, I have 3 pieces. He has 2 rooks, I have 2 rooks. And he can just take my bishop and I'll take his bishop, and the material will stay even, except that I won a pawn over here, and it's near his king, so that's good for me. But he has an option here that I did not anticipate. He does not have to take the bishop. That's not a forced move. There's no check, and there's no particular pressure on him to take that pawn, take that bishop, because in fact I just, if he takes a bishop, I take a bishop, so it doesn't gain anything for him to take that bishop. So he can just leave things as they are and look about for other moves, and he has a really good move in this position that I totally missed. So here's your second tactical quiz. This one should be a little bit easier. My opponent actually didn't play the best move here. He just went ahead and took the bishop. I guess he had calculated the same sequence that I did and fell right into my plan. So the moral here is that you always have to look at your opponent's plan, his plan tactic, with a little bit of scrutiny and see if you can disrupt it somewhat. So see if you can find the move for white here. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away. He can take my knight instead of taking my bishop. And now, well, his rook is hanging, so I should probably take that back. And then he can take my bishop. And if we stop and count, it's kind of funny, but he got 2 pieces for the rook, right? Because he won both the knight and the bishop. You know, it's one of these tactics I still have trouble seeing right now. He takes the knight, I take back, winning the exchange, I think. But then after that, he takes the bishop, and there's no more pieces hanging. So that's simply 2 pieces for the rook, and so white is better after this sequence. There's no more pieces hanging. It's my turn to move, but there's nothing for me to take here, and white is up material. He did lose a pawn around his king, but materially he's better. He has the bishop pair, as well as having 2 pieces for the rook. So that's a strange type of miscalculation, but surprisingly common. Let's see. He played bishop a4 here. Right. So I'm tempted to move the queen. I'm tempted to play this tactic. It looks like it wins a pawn, but after this point where I've taken his queen with my bishop, he has this other move, rook takes knight rather than king takes bishop, and that wins material for white. So that's just a straightforward miscalculation, and probably the kind of mistake is typical of an A player, right? You can calculate a little bit at my level, but you don't calculate so precisely all the way through a combination. It's difficult to see some of these alternate moves that pop up, you know, just 1 or 2 steps down the road. But that's something I could work on, is improving my calculation skills. Okay, let's go to the next game here. Let's see. I had the white pieces. Let's turn this around, and we'll go to move 14. So my opponent just played, let's back up. My opponent just played the move a5. Now this is a typical King's Indian defense. There's a blocked center, and he's trying to, you know, I had ideas of pushing the move b4 here to harass his knight, drive it away from that square. It's putting pressure on my center, and maybe I can drive it to a worse square. So he stopped that with the move a5. And it's my turn here. And I've got an okay position. I've got a little more space. The engine likes white a little bit here. But I make a move here, which is a strategic blunder. Maybe it's tactical too, but the tactics aren't all on the surface. I think it's more about the strategy here. So I think mostly I've been showing my tactical mistakes. It's interesting to get in a strategic mistake. So a good plan here might be to, say, put the bishop on g4, trade off this light squared bishop, which is a good attacking piece in this setup. You can see this is really his strong bishop. This dark squared bishop is a bad one. So that's, excuse me, that arrow was awful. This is a good attacking bishop in the King's Indian defense, and this bishop at the moment is hemmed in. So that's a plan, and that would be a decent move. I played the move f4. And f4 is really a terrible mistake. Although the tactics might not be immediately evident, they start to show up right away after the move f4. And so let's talk about my thinking process here. I always have this. I have a difficulty understanding the King's Indian defense, I guess, in a way. I always wonder, you know, I've got all my pieces out. The knights are here, well poised. I've got a blocked up center with a little more space. And, you know, his pieces are, well, this piece isn't developed, this rook is out of play. Why is it in black's advantage when I open this up? And how come it's not in my advantage? Normally the side that's better developed, has pieces ready to attack, is the side that's helped by opening up the position. And so, you know, I'm often tempted as white in the King's Indian defense. I think I have a little more space and better development to play a move like this. But what this does is it brings his bishop to life, and that's the real reason why this is a terrible mistake and why it's a strategic mistake more than just a tactical. He just takes, and he takes with the e-pawn, which maybe I didn't entirely anticipate that, but it gives him this great square on d4 for his bishop. Let's see, I took back, and he didn't even bother to take back. He throws in this check right away, so I don't have time to move my knight out of the way and protect this square. So he's able to entrench this bishop in my camp, and push my king to the h-file. And actually, I'm just a few steps away from being mated. He just needs to get a rook or a queen on the h-file here, and my position is in serious straits. So in fact, black is winning here. There's no good defense for all of the threats, even though they're not immediately apparent now. They're just a few moves away. He's going to be able to get a tremendous attack, and I'm not going to be able to defend against all of the threats. So anyway, that's a strategic mistake here to play this move f4. Now, is f4 always wrong in the King's Indian defense? No, there probably are times when you're going to want to play that move and when it's the right move. It's just that there's 2 points here. One is that there's actually holes in your position behind these pawns that you've pushed forward. And so you always have to be careful about your opponent sinking a piece into this empty space here. Right now, this square on d3, for example, is covered by the bishop. But if this bishop were somewhere else, his knight could hop into this d3 square. So the advanced pawns that give you more space also leave a vacuum behind them that you have to be very careful about. And the second point is you really have to be careful about opening up lines for his dark squared bishop. So you're really helping him out when you do that. Okay, so that was a strategic mistake. One more mistake I wanted to look at. Let's see. I was in this game. Okay, I had the black pieces here. Let's turn it around again. Move 28. Okay, let's back up. My opponent has the white pieces. His position is once again about even. He plays the move e6. He has an extra pawn, 4 to 3 over here and 2 to 3. But and he has the bishop pair. But I have some things going for me too. So after the move e6, there's a move I have here to maintain equality. And if you want to pause the video, see if you can find the best move for black. Okay, I did not play the best move, but let's start by talking about what I did play. So, obviously my knight's under attack, and I want to do something about that. And what I was thinking was, well, I'd really like to get my knight to this f6 square. But on f6, do I really want to block in my bishop? I felt like the position might be a little bit cramped with knight to f6. So I thought I saw a clever way of getting the knight to f6 through the use of some tempo moves. So I played the move queen b1 check. He placed his king here. I placed the move bishop to e5 check, and he just moved g3 to block it. And then I moved knight to f6. So I thought this was just fine. And in fact, this is a losing position. So why don't you see if you can figure out what's wrong? what have I done wrong here? Okay, I'll give the answer away now. The problem here let's put on an engine too to make sure I don't screw up this explanation. The problem here is that my king is in a bit of difficulty here. It doesn't have any great moves. Actually, its only move is to go to g7 here. And so because my king is so short on moves, if you could imagine, say, a dark squared bishop or a queen on this diagonal here, it would deliver checkmate. So I'm actually losing here. The strongest move, yeah, let's play this, queen e3. That's makes sense. Just directly taking a look at this h6 square threatening checkmate. The only move, is that the only move? Bishop takes g3 check. Okay, other than sacrificing pieces, is to move my king here and then stop that. That loses the bishop. So that's the simplest refutation of the way I played. So this move, queen e3, it's funny how I miss these ideas even after I've played the game and I've looked them up and found the problem. So this move, queen e3, is a double attack, hitting the bishop and threatening checkmate. So let's back up. to this position, my whole plan is flawed. And in fact, I have a fairly simple move that actually helps my position quite a bit, and that's the move knight to c5, and that's what I should have played. And let's see, that attacks his queen, and it also puts some pressure on the this pawn here, this advanced e pawn. So I may, in a good day, I may win this pawn back. But the main thing is I've left my bishop here on g7, protecting my king. So it's not going to be so easy to get mated here. So I guess I would call that another example of a miscalculation. Let's put this position back on the board. Obviously, I saw my knight was under attack, but I didn't notice after I played my planned sequence. I planned out this sequence of moves: queen here, check, bishop here, check, knight to f6. I didn't see after all of that actually I had a position on the board where there was a simple double threat: queen to e3, attacking the loose bishop and threatening checkmate. So that's another typical kind of example of a miscalculation. So eliminating those errors would involve just learning how to calculate a little bit deeper, learning how to visualize a position on the board after I've made a few moves. Okay, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.